Every morning when you wake up, something inside you stirs, a spark, a whisper, a quiet force that says, go. Sometimes you listen, sometimes you don't, but it's always there. The invisible motion that pulls life forward. We call it motivation, but motivation isn't what you think it is. You think motivation is energy, a rush, a burst, a feeling that drives you, but in truth, motivation is not born from movement. Movement is born from motivation, and the secret is this: motivation isn't an emotion, it's a process, a science, a rhythm written deep inside your brain. Deep in your brain lies a chemical, dopamine. It's not the pleasure molecule like most believe, it's the anticipation molecule. It's not released when you get the reward, it's released when you chase it. That's why the journey feels alive. That's why progress feels better than perfection. Dopamine is your brain's way of saying, keep going. You're getting closer. But here's the trap. In a world of instant gratification, you've trained your brain to chase short rewards, notifications, validation, 100 tiny hits that keep you busy, but never fulfilled. Your mind stays in motion, but never in direction. Real motivation doesn't come from pressure, it comes from purpose. When you forget why you started, your brain's reward system collapses, dopamine shuts down, energy fades. You call it laziness, but it's actually disconnection. You're not unmotivated, you're uninspired. Because the human mind was never designed to move for nothing. It needs meaning. It needs a why. Psychologists call it self-determination theory. It says we move when three things align: autonomy, the freedom to choose; mastery, the drive to improve; purpose, the belief that it matters. When those three exist, motivation becomes effortless. When they don't, even small steps feel impossible. So if you've lost motivation, it's not because you're weak, it's because you're out of alignment. Look back at every moment in your life when you felt unstoppable. You weren't just doing something, you were becoming someone. That's what the mind truly craves, progress that changes identity. Because your subconscious doesn't chase goals, it chases self-concept. You don't want to go to the gym, you want to be healthy, you don't want to study, you want to be intelligent, you don't want to work, you want to matter. When your actions match your identity, motivation is automatic. But here's the paradox. Most people wait for motivation to start. They think they need to feel ready before they move. But the brain doesn't work that way. Action creates emotion. Movement creates momentum. That first step, in a bite, even the smallest really bite, what releases dopamine. And that dopamine creates more energy to keep going. That's how you build a feedback loop. I end up bird, cry, bite. A self-sustaining cycle of motion. So don't wait for motivation. Create it by moving first. But still, you'll have days when the fire fades, when every step feels heavy, when purpose feels distant. That's not failure, that's biology. Your brain wasn't designed for constant drive. It needs rest, reflection, stillness, because even the most powerful engine burns out if it never pauses to cool. Motivation is not a straight line, it's a pulse, a rhythm of effort and recovery. Learn to honor both, the doing and the being. Every motion in the mind begins with belief. The belief that movement matters, that change is possible. If your belief collapses, your motion stops. So the question isn't, how do I get motivated? It's, what do I believe about myself right now? Because every choice is a reflection of identity, and your brain always acts in alignment with the story you tell it. You are what you repeat. Being motivated is a key part of being successful as an entrepreneur, and as such, it's a subject that's always fascinated me. Motivation comes from vision, goal setting, and celebrating small successes, but there's more to it. There's actually a science behind motivation. In truth, it's all in your head. When you need to do a task, how you think about it has a lot to do with how you complete it, or whether you do it at all. Psychologists have identified three primary sources of resistance to getting things done. Once you can identify these factors in your own thought processes, you can change how you think in order to get yourself motivated. Resistance. I have to. Very few things create resistance as effectively as being forced to do something. Sometimes you may not even want to do things you usually enjoy, just because you feel you have to. This particular type of resistance keeps many people from taking an entrepreneurial step in their lives, as they don't want their formerly fun activities to become have-to tasks. Solution: I choose to. To combat this effect, change how you think. Realize that nothing in life is actually a have to. You don't have to get up, and you don't have to go to work. You choose to because you enjoy the benefits those actions create. When you focus on the benefits of your actions, resistance melts away. That story, the one you live by, is your psychological script. It defines your limits, your potential, your drive. Change the story, and you change the motion. That's the real science of motivation. Neuroplasticity in action. Every time you act against your own doubt, you rewire your mind. That's not metaphor, that's measurable. Your mind literally reshapes itself to match what you do consistently. So don't chase motivation like it's a spark you must find. Build it like it's a fire you must feed. Feed it with small wins, feed it with meaning, feed it with patience. And when it flickers, remember, the mind was never meant to burn constantly. It was meant to breathe. Inhale discipline, exhale doubt, inhale action, exhale fear. That's the rhythm of progress. That's the pulse of the human spirit. Now, it's one thing to feel motivated. It is, unfortunately, another thing entirely to actually find in yourself the ability to accomplish the tasks that you've set for yourself. This process of getting things done represents the intersection between motivation and willpower. The place where you not only want to take action, but where you have the ability to execute as well. Therefore, no discussion on the science of motivation is complete without also mentioning the science that underpins our willpower, or our ability to get things done. One of the most interesting discoveries of the last few years has been the realization that willpower is a finite resource. That is, you only get a certain amount of willpower on any given day, and once you've exhausted that supply, you'll find yourself feeling much less able to do the right things and act on the motivation that you may feel. For the scientific background underpinning this issue, consider a really fascinating study by researchers at Columbia University, which found that judges tend to make more rulings in favor of prisoners at the start of each of their 3 decision-making sessions. Rulings made later in the sessions, as demonstrated in this graph, were far more likely to favor the judge's interests, a result the researchers chalk up to decision fatigue. Essentially, the more decisions we make, the more likely we are to become fatigued by these choices. As time goes on, our willpower diminishes and our ability to follow through on our motivations declines. Motivation isn't something you find, it's something you remember. You were born with it. The instinct to move, the will to grow, the drive to become, it never left you. It just fell asleep. And now, it's time to wake it. Your mind is in motion. Always. Even when you feel stuck, you're just between steps. So keep walking, keep believing, keep moving, because the science behind motivation is you. Mind scripted. Understand your mind, and you'll understand your power.